Folks, grab your hazmat suits because the Kamala Harris media tour has gone nuclear. From 60 Minutes to The View, our illustrious vice president, who's got her eye on the Oval Office, has been on a gafftastic journey that would make even Joe Biden wince. But here is the real kicker. While Kamala's fumbling on national television, there is a war brewing in the White House, yes, physical altercations, accusations of sabotage, and a president who seems more interested in undermining his VP than running the country. Buckle up, America. This ride is about to get bumpy. And speaking of things falling apart, let's talk about something that is silently destroying men across America. Yes, I'm not talking about the feminist movement. I'm talking about what you think you are doing right. Eating well, hitting the gym, but there's an invisible enemy sabotaging your manhood. It's not stress, it's not age, it's a common food that's absolutely decimating your testosterone levels. Sounds like fake news, right? Well, our friends over at V-Shred, they have uncovered this testosterone killer, and they're exposing this health conspiracy. You want to know what it is? Head to sculptnation.com/NNN. Your masculinity is on the line. So, we've got a lot to unpack in this report, so I think we'll just kick it off with Damon Imani, one of my favorite accounts on X that I follow. He had to pull out the banana for this clip.
No. And yesterday she appeared on the most popular podcast among women, Call Her Daddy. Take a look.
Can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision about a man's body?
No.
Is there any law?
No.
Will be.
No.
Draft. In times of war, the government only forces men to fight and probably get killed. It's called military draft or selective service.
Yeah, that's going to set the tone for this segment here at the Next News Network. Tim Walz has insisted that the American public can trust him to fulfill his promises if elected vice president, despite allegations that he has lied in the past. Tim Pool posting 60 Minutes obliterated Harris Walz. Tim Walz gets called out as someone Americans can't trust. This is on 60 Minutes. Let's watch.
Isn't that in your debate with J.D. Vance? You said, I'm a knucklehead at times. And I think you were referring to the time that you said that you were in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square unrest when you were not.
Yeah.
Is that kind of misrepresentation, isn't that more than just being a knucklehead?
I think folks know who I am, and I think they know the difference between someone expressing emotion, telling a story, getting a date wrong rather than a pathological liar like Donald Trump.
But I think it comes down to the question of whether you can be trusted to tell the truth.
Yeah, well, I can. I think I can. I will own up to being a knucklehead at times, but the folks closest to me know that I keep my word.
In your debate...
Okay, so, see, the thing is, Timmy, we can't afford to have a knucklehead a heartbeat away from the presidency. The country can't afford that. Oh, I'll just admit when I'm a knucklehead. How about not? How about just pack your shit and get out? Okay? America doesn't want a knucklehead. I'm surprised that 60 Minutes had the balls to push Tim Walz. Elon Musk mocking Tim Walz, pointing out that he's a clown. Walz has his own emoji. And this specific post by Elon Musk was seen 23 million times. Walz has his own emoji. What are people even saying? Crossings are down since Donald Trump left office, says Tim Walz. He should probably stop making verifiably false claims. Marjorie Taylor Greene press office. What would Kamala Harris emoji be? Paul Zapula says it's blatant lying. He repeated it for many years. Juanita Broderick. Walls equals clown. Fire. Gunther Eagleman. ALC has her own emoji. What is that? A donkey? Clown World certainly agrees. The honey badger's back. Oh, that looks like a mugshot, doesn't it? Elon Musk breaking the internet with just a few words and an emoji. Tim Young, Kamala and Walz made the perfect Trump ad. Yes, they did. Kamala claims she wouldn't change anything Biden and did and help with everything. Walz says we can't take 4 more years. Let's watch this. I don't think this is a real Trump ad, but I think someone put it together. But it's perfect. It's perfect.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Would you have done something differently than President
I mean, who says that?
4 more years of this.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this.
Who says we have to move past the failed policies we know that don't work? She's just admitting her policies are garbage. This is the language that comes out of her mouth. Okay, Trump War Room posting this. Kamala Harris calls for mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens on day one, just like the bill the Kamala Biden administration introduced to Congress when they took office. You see, this is the bait they're using. This is the bait they're using to get people, all these illegals, to run for the border and cross it illegally in hopes that they can get them to vote, and then they get amnesty on the other side. This is the whole plan. It has been since day one.
To address the border. There remains this perception among voters that the Biden administration dragged its feet and waited too long to act to address the border crisis. Can you speak to why voters may feel that way?
Sure. Well, first of all, to your point, when we first came in office, hours after we were inaugurated, the first bill we offered before infrastructure, before bringing down the cost of prescription medications, it was to fix our broken immigration system. And it never got taken up, in large part for political reasons, because solutions are at hand, and we need to fix the problem.
There remains this perception among voters.
We need to fix the problem. You're in the administration, honey. You could do it immediately. Daily Mail breaking some news. Doug Emhoff, the second cuck, Kamala Harris' husband, was known as a misogynist who retaliated against women who didn't flirt back at his L.A. law firm, according to an ex-staffer. Yeah. Doug Emhoff, former colleagues have come forward, say he refused to promote women who didn't flirt with him and would brag about yelling at women. Emhoff impregnated his nanny, accused of assaulting his girlfriend, and now we've got this story according to the Daily Mail. And there is the, I guess they call her a trophy secretary. He hired this beautiful secretary, some eye candy at the front desk. But he's, of course, he's reshaping masculinity, right? Kamala Harris, she's got some new supporters in the porn industry. XXX for Kamala. Porn industry launches ads supporting Kamala Harris's campaign. Drew Hernandez pointing out how desperate they have now gotten. Joe Biden, of course, pulled a fast one during Kamala Harris's View appearance. and scheduled a press conference right in the middle of it, one-upping her, showing they're not singing from the same song sheet as Biden said the other day when he one-upped her. Now, we've got... Okay, so here's the thing. Clandestine points this out. CBS ambushes Kamala and starts doing journalism, as you saw. We got some more clips from the 60 Minutes. Of course, they also did some editing, heavy editing of Kamala Harris. But we've got the unedited version. Biden contradicted Kamala, said DeSantis is doing a good job. Markets shifting heavily to Trump. Seems too good to be true. Here is where Kamala Harris tells the COVID fear merchants and shut-in Howard Stern that Trump is too weak to lead. Charlie Kirk points out this is the same guy who took a bullet and then stood up with his fist in the air and shouted, "Fight, fight, fight." Kamala Harris thinks that he's weak. This is the lie, and this is the misinformation and the dishonesty coming from people, because you saw with your own eyes what happened there in Butler on that fateful day. And then when he came back and looked death in the face, and she calls him weak.
Make sure that I think that, Howard, people ask me, like, what do you think is going on, and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is an election that is about strength versus weakness.
Yeah.
And weakness as projected.
Yeah, it is strength versus weakness. You are the weakness, Kamala. You are the weakest link.
By someone who puts himself in front of the American people and does not have the strength to stand in defense of their needs, their dreams, their desires.
He doesn't have the strength to stand after he took a frickin' bullet. That's what she says. He doesn't have the strength to stand. This guy's done more for this country than you ever have, Kamala. And he's not even in office right now.
The work that must happen to make sure that we are a secure nation, that we are nurturing and protecting our alliances around the world, that we are supporting America's military, that we are fighting to bring the cost of living down for working families, that we are building businesses, building...
Yeah, how are you doing that, though? It's all empty words. We're fighting to bring down the cost of groceries. I still haven't heard a substantive plan. I haven't heard anything. I mean, Kamala, you signed the bill that triggered this massive inflation that we are all experiencing. You were the tie-breaking vote, Kamala. It is on you. Don't try to gaslight me. Trump's not strong enough. It's absolutely absurd that she would continue to run this rhetoric. Oh, here's that. This is that. The what do we call it? The trophy, the trophy secretary. That can't be a real picture. Come on, no, this has got to be like a Photoshop job. Okay, I got these clips, but of course you got Don Lemon over here.
Right at home with the ladies. Another day, another interview with the vice president. Today, she's on The View, and she seems right at home with the ladies of The View. I wonder how much more criticism she's going to get for supposedly not doing enough interviews. Is this enough? How do you think she's doing? I think she's doing pretty good.
Oh, I think she's doing pretty good for Donald Trump, actually. Thanks for throwing in your 2 cents there, Don Lemon. It's great to see you shooting vertical videos on the streets of New York because your ass got canned from CNN because you're a scumbag. But hey, I guess you got to do what you got to do. There's a clip. I'm trying to find this clip I had set up for you guys. Oh, where is it? It's so important. Kamala, oh, this is the one. Yes. Kamala admits she's responsible for all the failures of the past 4 years.
And would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms.
There's nothing that comes to mind. So she is 100% cool with everything that's happened. Afghanistan, right? Yeah. What else? What else has she done wrong? Oh, here. Do you see this?
Resulting in 200 that killed 1,200, resulting in 250 Israelis getting kidnapped. 100 of them remain captive to this very day.
So you have Kamala Harris and her husband. And what are they doing? A little photo op, planting some trees. They don't even know how to use a shovel. Pretty embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing. And of course, we have Kamala Harris. This is back on the Howard Stern. Let's jump back to that. Spreading a conspiracy theory that Trump said he wants to be a dictator on his first day in office. He will jail journalists and protesters.
But you're getting played, to your point, doesn't support our friend Ukraine, doesn't support, therefore, something America should always, and has always, by the way, been a champion of, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity, which means the importance of standing against anyone who tries to take another nation by force.
Right.
That's what we stand for as Americans, that you don't do that. And if you do that to our friends, we're going to stand with our friends. You're getting played. And some would say, look, I grew up in the neighborhood. Some would say you're getting punked.
Yeah.
If you stand in favor of somebody who's an adversary over your friends on principles that we all agree on. And you look at it, it's not only that. He says he's going to be a dictator on day one. Understand what dictators do. They jail journalists. They put people who are protesting in the street in jail.
He said he thinks he wants to go after Jimmy Kimmel, a comedian. He wants to go after Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers. Even if someone had said years ago when I remember presidential races, if someone said, "Oh, Kamala Harris isn't a black woman," they would have been out of the. They would have been out of the. Yeah. That would have been it. Would have been over. I mean, how do you challenge that? What do you do with that?
Oh, wait, this is the same Howard Stern that did that whole blackface skit? Yeah, listen to him taking the moral high ground all of a sudden. But we do have what was actually said. What was actually said by Donald Trump. What did he really say he's going to be a dictator on day one? Did he really say that? No, he did not say that. This is such a big segment. I had it right here. Okay. Here it is.
Promising America issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Yeah. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
He's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
That's not. No, no. That's not retribution. I'm
going to be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border." And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president.
You see, that's they always take it out of context, right? They've been running with that line ad nauseum. But this 60-minute interview was really, really bad. It was so bad. Everyone is saying that she ended her career. Listen to how she answers this question about her border policies.
Administration.
Correct.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
But what I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half. But we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
I've been covering the border.
Listen how she deflects. It's Congress's fault. And she says, but then she says, we did something. We cut this in half. We cut this in half. And the reporter is struggling. Come on. Why couldn't you have done this sooner? Why now? He's calling her out. This interview on 60 Minutes really destroyed her campaign. Now, remember when she says she can't think of anything off the top of her head? Want to change something?
But she walks into the View, and you would think that would be an interview, and you know what they asked her? They gave her a softball, an easy question, really propaganda. They said, "Can you name a single thing where you disagree with Joe Biden?" Now, let's back up for a second, because remember, Kamala Harris's entire campaign is to pretend that she hasn't been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. You know, she stands up before crowds and she'll say, on day one, we're going to tackle the affordability crisis. On day one, we're going to secure the border. And you listen to her for 5 minutes and you think, Kamala, are you going to vote for Donald Trump? Because you've been vice president for 1,400 days. You haven't done anything. So you think after all this time of thinking about how she would do things differently from Joe Biden, she would have a well-prepared answer for the interviewers on The View. Well, they ask her one thing you would do differently from Joe Biden. You know what she says? I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Now, in her defense, I'm not sure she could think of anything off the top of her head, whether about Joe Biden's policies or anything else, but think about this. For the last 2 months, Kamala Harris has been telling the American people that she's going to do things differently than Joe Biden, where she increased the cost of groceries by 25%. The average Michigan family is paying $1,000 more per month. That's $12,000 per year to afford today what they could have afforded when Donald Trump was president. The border is wide open thanks to our illustrious border czar, Kamala Harris, and her entire campaign has been to pretend that she doesn't bear any responsibility for the policies, even though she's the sitting vice president. But
yep, he just roasted her. Donald Trump posting this on his Truth Social account.
Now, the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
Bill, that is why I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The reason so many
gotta
voters-
love Donald Trump posts from his Truth Social account. Oh, this is also great. Another post that he made.
Nomination. Was democracy best served by President Biden stepping down and basically handing you a nomination? You didn't have to go through a primary process. You didn't have to fight off other contenders. That's not really the way our system was intended to work.
President Biden made a decision that I think history is going to show is rare among leaders, which was to put country before self. And I am proud to have earned the support of the vast majority of delegates and to have been elected the Democratic nominee. I am proud to have received the endorsement of leaders around this country from every background and walk of life to fight in this election over the next month for our democracy.
But I think this truncated process is why people think or say they don't really know who you are.
Look, I've been in this race for 70 days.
My name is Matt. 70 days she's been in this. How long has Donald Trump been campaigning? This is what he had to say. Donald Trump said this. The interview on 60 Minutes with Comrade Kamala Harris is considered by many of those who reviewed it, the worst interview they've ever seen. She literally had no idea what she was talking about. It was an embarrassment to our country that a major party candidate would be so completely inept. In addition, her incompetence on helping people through the devastation of Hurricane Helene is being reviewed as by far the worst in American history, even worse than Katrina, if that's possible. I can't imagine anybody living in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, or Tennessee voting for her. Pollsters are saying that the anti or negative vote in those places, and even places not affected, but with people watching what took place, will be heavily against her. This is good news because November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country, and we cannot bear 4 more years of incompetence. Make America great again. Posted on October 8th, 2024. A man of memes posting this. Brian, if you could go vertical on this, I'd appreciate that.
I wish you would interview Joe Biden like you interview me. I wish you would. It would be so good. You know what? When I watch him walk out of a store and he's walking with ice cream, and the question the media asks him, chocolate chip. What kind of ice cream? What flavor ice cream do you have? And he's in the midst of a scam. He's not. And he's taking... Of course he is.
No, come on.
I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Thanks. Thanks. I wish you would interview Joe Biden.
That's how you treat these liars in the media. Kamala admits she's responsible. And here's Joy Behar talking with Kamala.
You have an explanation. People are saying this could be the closest election in a century.
Yeah.
I personally cannot understand why anyone would vote for him. A lot of it is, I think, he's getting bad information. People are getting bad information from other channels. Mm-hmm. But do you have an explanation for this at all?
Well, let me just add to your list. I mean, we don't listen. It's only an hour's show. Exactly. How much time do you have? Including, he has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah. People are saying that.
When did he say that? When did he say that? Can we get a fact check? Because I don't recall him ever saying anything. She's spreading conspiracy theories about him being a dictator on day one. Emhoff getting busted again for how he's treating women in the workplace. CNN even roasting Kamala Harris. Charlie Kirk posting, saying she wouldn't have done anything different. This is CNN.
This, given that done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years.
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Molly, what do you make of that? I'm surprised, frankly, that she doesn't have more to say about this, given that
she and her campaign know that this is one of the main questions that voters have about her. And one of the main things she's been trying to establish as part of her candidacy is the idea that she would represent a break from the past 4 years, and to not be able to come up with something to say in that moment. She continues to not be particularly nimble on her feet in a lot of these interviews, and this is a very obvious question that gave her an opportunity, frankly, to differentiate herself in a way that would have made news, that would have answered, I think, the curiosity of a lot of voters who want to know how she would lead differently. And she's not very specific in laying that out, and she can't point to a decision she would have made differently, which, in an electorate that thinks that doesn't like the way this administration has led and that doesn't like the track that the country is on, that may not be a very satisfactory answer.
I mean, it's a...
When you lost CNN, you've lost the narrative completely. In an unaired portion of Kamala's 60 Minutes interview, she claims Iran is the greatest threat to the United States and implicitly suggests that she would go to war with Iran. Ian Mouse Chung asking, why wasn't this segment aired?
Talk about hypothetical.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands. Okay?
And American dollars in their pocket, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
Which foreign country do you consider to be...
You're not going to talk about hypotheticals, huh? Even Charlemagne the God, he's admitting that Donald Trump is getting very effective with his messaging. A new Trump ad attacking Kamala's support for taxpayer-funded surgeries on prisoners was effective.
I was like, hell no. That ad they was running during the football games this weekend claiming the vice president supports funding gender transition surgeries for all prison inmates and migrants in the U.S. That was nuts. I don't know if it was.
I wouldn't say nuts, but that was crazy.
That was funny.
I don't know if it was the backdrop of football, but when you hear the narrator say Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners, that one line, I was like, hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
I definitely see that. She did
that ad was effective.
Kamala took a picture with a transgender. It was.
That ad was effective. Democrats are not happy, says Charlie Kirk, with the state of the race. They're deploying their very flawed and untalented candidate on a media blitz only as a last resort. 60 Minutes didn't go well. Call her daddy was an embarrassment. Reports are building that they are nervous. The View, clipping out this, they felt this was one of the strongest points of the interview, apparently. Well, you be the judge.
Engaged in grievance has happened to him. Donald Trump prefers to run on problems instead of fixing problems. He's not solution-oriented. And again, I will invite people, if you really need to know how he thinks, since he doesn't do these kinds of interviews, watch his rallies. He spends full time engaged in grievance about what has happened to him. He spends full time perpetuating lies and misinformation. He spends full time talking about fictional characters.
Name calling, a lot of name
calling and demeaning people, belittling people. But what he does not talk about is you. He does not talk.
That's a lie. That's a lie. See, first of all, Donald Trump has been attacked relentlessly since 2016. Okay, he's been shot at. He's been impeached twice, indicted 1 billion times, trying to bankrupt his entire business, his family, going after his kids, dragging them in front of judges, trying to humiliate them at every corner. So I think the guy's got a point if he's going to go up on stage and maybe, grind his axe on that. But the fact that he doesn't talk about you, see, what you're seeing on this screen, this is more lies and misinformation from Kamala Harris. They're painting a picture, they're gaslighting you. She doesn't challenge anyone to go watch one of his rallies. See for yourself. But I doubt that any of the View watchers are going to take the time to do that. She's in a safe space there on The View. Kamala projecting her weakness on President Trump. Talking about getting played. But this, I think, was probably one of the most damning moments. Brian, let's go vertical on this one. This, we're watching these 60-minute clips. We're watching these View clips. Howard Stern clips, counterpoints from Trump and Vance. But this, I think, is probably the most damaging of it all. 60 minutes quietly edited out Kamala's word salad answer on Israel. It was a mess. We played it for you the other night. Let's watch. Let's watch this together now.
On the need.
But
prepare to have your mind blown.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems
Did you see that? Did you see that? They edited her answer. Just like the other interview she did. I mean, this is mind-blowing that they would have the audacity to do this. What I don't understand is, first, you have the top video is Face the Nation. So they aired this on Face the Nation, but then the actual CNN, the actual 60 Minutes interview played a completely different answer. And they think people wouldn't recognize it? Let's watch that one more time together.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems
that's where we're at, folks. That is where we're at. You got the mainstream media blatantly editing answers, softball questions, total lies being spewed. Everyone's recognizing just how devastating these interviews have been. Donald Trump pointing it out. Democrats in panic mode. Joe Biden one-upping her during The View. Porn industry launching ads supporting Kamala. It's one thing after another. But see, I get a little worked up here because I'm just like, I'm ingesting this all day. But I got to remind myself that God is in control. At the end of the day, God's in control. And these people are just exposing themselves. Kamala Harris is exposing themselves. When they go out and they plan this charm offensive with the media, when they go out and do this, they're doing it because they're in panic mode. They're doing it because they know their poll numbers are dropping. And they have to get out in front of it. They got to make headlines. But it all backfires. Because there's no heart behind it. There's no truth behind it. It's all vanity and manipulation and deception. And God shines a light. We see it. We call it out. We tag it. We show it to you. You show it to your friends. And the truth shines a light on these lies. The sunlight disinfecting the lies. Because at the end of the day, the truth will prevail. And we are here to continue to bring you that truth. So there you have it, Kamala Harris, the woman who wants to be your next president, can't even handle a softball interview without imploding. And now we're hearing about fistfights in the White House corridors. Is this the leadership America deserves, or is this the inevitable result of an administration built on identity politics rather than competence? So what do you think, America? Is Kamala Harris a victim of media bias, or is she simply out of her depth? Let us know in the comments.